What is up, guys? Well, I finally got to drive the Ford F-150 Lightning. And it was, everything you probably thought it would be or hoped it would be. It lives up to the hype. Thanks for watching. Bye. Just kidding. I got a lot to talk about. So today I'm going to talk about, the things that I was, it not only met but exceeded my expectations in a lot of ways. There's also a couple things that I kind of like, man, they were this close. Like, I wish they would have done a little better. So we're going to talk about all that. But first, I do want to give a big thank you to my new friends at Keller Ford here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, especially Jordan. I'm going to have all of his information in the description. He took some time out of his day. He let me tour the vehicle head to toe, take it on a short little drive, which was just so fun. And man, they're so nice. Plus, if you're in the Grand Rapids area, you're looking for a Ford F-150 Lightning dealer, they told me they're not doing MSRP on orders. So if you already have a reservation, you're in the Grand Rapids area, they definitely have my stamp of approval. Really great guys over there. So just another option for you guys. If, again, you're in the Michigan area and you want to find a dealer that's not going to charge you over, bring your order to them. They're really nice to me. So that's that. Let's get into the video. So the model I was driving was an extended range Lariat. Surprise, surprise. I feel like that's obviously the most popular one online. So you've probably heard a lot about it. So I'm going to do my best to kind of explain the things that I maybe haven't seen in other videos. Although I'm probably going to hit a lot of the same notes, but it was white and it looked great. This thing in person rules. First thing aesthetically that popped out in my eyes was actually the wheels. So these are the wheels that come on the XLT upgraded. So not the base XLT, but like the extra like $9,000 package you can add on the XLT comes with these wheels, as well as all the Lariat, both of the Lariat trims you can get come with these wheels. And they look really good in person. I kind of thought they had more of like a matte, darker look, but in the light, in daytime, they're like a shiny sort of gunmetal black. They look really good. So I was really impressed with those wheels just because it's so hard when you see all this stuff online. And the car in general, or the truck in general, like so many things when you're actually seeing it in person change I changed my opinion of a lot of things, and most of my opinions were changed towards the better. I guess one thing, since we're talking aesthetics, I couldn't help but notice there's like this, it looks cool, like the stitching, I guess you'd call it, on the dash and throughout the vehicle, on the doors and everything. There's like this cool, almost fabric looking material, which looks, again, amazing. But, when I started touching around, it maybe felt plasticky. It was like this weird material, like a
main vehicle. So, I mean,
is this plastic or?
It's like a weird
in between.
Yeah. It's not like this.
Yeah.
But,
weird.
But you can feel.
Again, I can't say it enough. I think it looks great, but I really think Ford cheaped out a little bit on some of the materials. Like even the dash was like very plasticky, and this is on like an $85,000 version of the truck. Like this, I don't know. There's really no soft touch throughout the entire dash, which who knows? Maybe it's for cutting weight. Maybe there's probably reasons around it. It's not like it looks bad. I guess I was just surprised for such an expensive vehicle. There might have like a little bit nicer materials used throughout it. I did get to spend a little bit of time with the infotainment. The 15-inch screen on this vehicle is everything you'd think it'd be and more. Like even like the pixel density is incredible. So if you're into tech, you're into good looking displays, it looked really good. Now I do almost wish that the model I had was like the XLT or the Pro, just because I've seen less videos of those and I would have liked firsthand with those models, maybe a little more. But don't get me wrong, this Lariat I was in, the screen, it seemed almost too big. It is gorgeous. It looks awesome. There's so many options. The menus were intuitive. The customization level you can get into, it's got to check the box for anyone. Right out of the box, it lets just about anyone be able to dial in any setting they need, any little thing Ford thought of it, which is really cool to see. And it's even better because you think about the things that might not be there. Well, they could just come in a software update down the road. So that's the beauty of buying cars nowadays, cars and trucks. You get over-the-air software updates where you could just improve, and it just keeps getting better. Getting back to like the aesthetics though, like the steering wheel felt really great in your hands, like a nice soft leather. The actual, I'm calling it like the cockpit area of like the fold over workstation, the storage in the center console, all of that. I mean, it's obviously nothing innovative, crazy from the current F-150s. In fact, it's basically a copy and paste. But they did that for a reason. It's functional. It feels like, you got a lot of room in there to get stuff done, and that's the goal of this vehicle. So it was really cool, and no complaints there at all. It's just great. We did take a look at charging. Jordan, who was showing me around and kind of touring the vehicle with me, let me plug it in. So we did that. Unfortunately, the vehicle was already charged to about 100%. So I really didn't see anything there, but I did get a couple shots of just what it looked like. Again, these might be things that have already been covered in other videos, but it was cool to see in person. So what I really like is the light functionality. So when you plug in, you'll see that it turns blue, and then as you're charged, let's say you're at 50%, the lights will slowly populate as it gets to a full charge. So you don't have to get into the vehicle to see where your charge is at or open the app. You could just look right on the charge port, which is just, something Ford didn't really have to do, but they did. It's like kind of that bonus thing. But when you do go into the vehicle, you have a great dashboard of where you're charging at. Like, so obviously in this clip here, we were at 100%. But what I did notice that it might be missing, I don't know if this was just because it was at 100%, but it did look like maybe you could use a little more charging data that could be stats buried into the infotainment system that I just didn't find yet. But I would have liked to see the charge rate and all of that stuff. But it would be cool to get just a little more information on there. But for your everyday person, I mean, it's obviously totally fine, because you get, at the end of the day, you get what you need: the miles, the estimated miles, and the battery status. Now, even though I was in the extended range, what you can see is the estimated range is not 320 like the EPA estimate is. It's estimating 284 miles. And that's just worth stating that, again, this is using driving history to estimate that range. And if you could guess, most people doing those test drives are testing out how fast it goes, giving it a little more juice than they would on their everyday. So that's why Ford software in that vehicle is estimating that lower range than the EPA estimate. And that's the biggest thing to talk about with this vehicle, especially if this is one of the first videos you've seen about the Ford Lightning, which I doubt it is, but it's hard to explain to people new to EVs what to expect with an electric vehicle and range. It's not just a black and white range. Like the EPA estimate, I mean, it's same with non-electric vehicles too. Like when you add a lot of cargo on, that range gets cut a lot. When you're going hammer time on that, I guess it's not a gas pedal, the acceleration pedal, you're going to use more power if you're going uphill. Like that range is very flexible, and we're seeing that a lot in the Ford Lightning, that it goes down quite a bit when you are you're making the vehicle work more, which again could be common sense to most people, but sometimes you just see, oh, I get 320 miles range. That's what I get. Cold weather is another thing that will likely cut it down even like 20% in some cases. I don't think we've gotten to try that in the Lightning. There's no real world tests of cold weather quite yet, but I would guess it's probably in that 20% range cut. So these are some things that are part of being an EV driver that you're going to have to calculate when you are figuring out if an EV fits your lifestyle. And of course, that especially is hard when you're a truck guy. If you're using this thing for work and you're hauling all day, you're going to get far less than that estimated 300 miles. But I'm guessing you guys already know most of that and have watched a ton of videos that break all that down, and none of that comes as a big shock to you. Next, of course, you got to get a tour of the Power Frunk. Come on, this is one of the most revolutionary things in trucks, right? It's lockable storage where you don't need a tonneau cover, or you don't need a safe in the back of your truck. Like, you have actual places outside of your actual cabin where you can store things, dirty things if you need to. Heck, there's even a cooler in it. Like, it's got everything you need, and it checks all the boxes. It's it's big, as you see so many people are hopping in there and proving that a person can fit. So much so there's a button to get out if you are stuck in there. I don't know what leads to someone being stuck in the front of an F-150 Lightning, but Ford's thought of that too. Actually, I think it's probably a legal thing, like the same reason there's a pull tab on some older trunks in cars. Same sort of deal to think about, but it's customizable. There's everything. There's dividers. There's a sub level of the front trunk where you can make it as a cooler. There's a drain plug. It's really versatile. Like, it really is a truck that you could make fit a lot of different things. And again, especially, it's the grocery getter's dream car. Like, guilty as charged. I'm not going to be, taking this to the job site. I'm going to be using it for storing a lot of e-bikes, taking my mountain bike to the trail. Like, I know that's like the sacred no-no to admit, because most truck guys think if you don't need a truck for truck reasons, you don't deserve a truck. Well, I tend to disagree. I think this is a perfect vehicle for a lot of non-truck guys, believe it or not. I think it's the perfect truck for someone who doesn't like trucks. Does that make sense? Speaking of the bed, it's just got everything you could think of. You got the Pro Power on board, which, if you're unfamiliar, comes with a 30 amp plug. Like, I can't even imagine what you need that for. Like, that is so much power that could be even put into a distro to have even more power. So job site powering, like, at the most, I'll load up a bunch of camera gear and use it to charge camera stuff. Like, that's pretty cool. Or having, all these lights, I can have like a mobile rig, which is really cool. And I do have a decent amount of equipment I need to haul around. So not only do I have that, the electronics I use have a place to charge. When I pull up somewhere, I'm good to go. Not to mention just the tailgater's dream car. I mean, you can be the guys that have like the flat screen TV set up watching the game. You don't even have to go into the stadium to watch it, because you're going to have the coziest tailgate. You got the electric griddle ready to go, and it's all powered from your truck, which is awesome. So let's talk about driving. Now, I did not get any footage of me driving. It felt weird to pull up a camera or have Jordan, the sales associate, film me. I wasn't about to do that, but I could tell you all about it. I'm going to be referencing my Tesla a lot in this driving scenario, because I think, as far as, I guess I'll talk about the Mach-E too. When it comes to just acceleration in general, Ford did a great job. You feel the power and you feel the quickness. Whether I gave it speed on both normal mode and sport mode, and even in normal, not only do you feel that instant acceleration, that power, that crazy, your heart goes back into your seat sort of thing. You get that, but you feel this power of it. It's not just moving fast. It's moving this extremely heavy vehicle at such a fast rate. So it's almost undescribable that you can like almost feel it through the steering wheel into your hands when you give it some gas. I almost said gasket. When you give it that acceleration, it goes. The sound of electric motors going, it just really makes you feel like you're in the future. It's so great. Now, something I think it could work on is the one-pedal driving. And, I think it goes back to the weight of the vehicle. No one does one-pedal driving like Tesla. It's almost too sensitive. So if you're unfamiliar with one-pedal driving, it's when you give it acceleration, the vehicle goes forward as a normal vehicle, but instead of using your brake, you let off the acceleration, and that actually regenerates the battery a little bit. It puts more power in, and it allows the vehicle to stop and acts as your brake. So when you're letting off the acceleration, it will act as a brake and slow down. Now, Tesla's, for instance, as I mentioned, is very sensitive to the point where the second you let off even a little, it feels like you're meeting the brake pedal halfway. Like it's a really tight engagement. You get used to it really quick, but even my wife, who would take the Tesla every once in a while, kind of hated it going from her everyday SUV to the Model Y. It would take her the whole way to get to work until she finally got used to it. So it's not for everyone, but again, it is pretty quick to understand. And now my complaint with the Lightning is that it's smooth. It's almost, I'd say, a lot smoother than the Model Y was. at slowly engaging and really kind of like ushering you into your stop. However, I'm so used to just letting off and knowing I'm stopping a lot sooner. It took a little bit and maybe even too long for the one pedal driving to bring the vehicle to a stop. So I'd be letting off the gas, it'd be stopping, and then I'd have to move over to the actual brake to stop it. And this is something that I think you could learn in time and it would just not even be an issue, but it was definitely something I noticed. And my guess is it has a lot to do with the weight of the vehicle. It's got a lot of vehicle to stop, and it doesn't want to, really jar someone new to EVs with quick engagement like a Tesla does. So those are my assumptions. And, I didn't even see in the menu if you could actually change that. Maybe you can change the adjustment of the one pedal driving. So I've driven like the EV6, for instance. They do a great job. They have paddle shifters on the steering wheel that allow you to decide if you want more or less regenerative braking. So something like that would be a cool over-the-air update to see Ford do, if it's not already there. But then steering and everything else, as amazing as you would imagine. It really was great. And I don't just want to sound like the guy who's been talking about the Lightning for a year and he finally drove it and he's just going to say it's good for good reason. No, I really mean it. I noticed it. It felt like a really comfortable vehicle to drive. Like it just really was smooth, tight turning. It was perfect. The final thing I want to talk about is I talked to Jordan there and I said, hey, do you have any other EVs or a hybrid? And he had a Power Boost. And I just decided to hop in that real quick just to see what a new F-150 feels like versus the Lightning. And I wanted to see that just because I haven't driven an F-150 before. I've been in one once or twice, but I've never been inside at least a new one for sure. So I wanted to just get the feel of what actually is different. And the answer is not a lot. Now I stepped into this XLT that you see here, and it's crazy how they really just capture basically the exact same thing and bring it over to the F-150 Lightning. So I remember something I thought was funny is the way that the handles work. You kind of grab it and then you pinch like a little divider to open the door. And I was like, wow, that's a pretty cool way to open it. It's cool they did that for the Lightning. And then I go into the regular version. It's like, well, that's just how F-150 doors open and I'm an idiot. So I like it though. Conversation of how EV door handles work is just a conversation for another time probably, because they're overkill in my opinion. Handle is just fine, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap up the video here. I'm so excited that this vehicle checked all the boxes for me. I would have been so devastated if this whole time I finally drive it and it didn't, hit the way it did. But Ford did a really good job. It's fun, it's fast, it's comfortable, it's great. My only thing I really want to see now is some of the lower trims. Everyone's kind of reviewing the Lariats and Platinums. I really think that we can see the full view of this vehicle when we get a lot more pro reviews and get those on the road, and even some XLTs. I'd love to see more in depth on that, and hopefully I'll get to drive one of those soon too, because I'd really love to also tour the 12-inch screen. But all that's for more videos. I can't wait to get them to you guys. And that's it. I'm going to wrap it up here. Again, thanks to Keller Ford here in Grand Rapids. I'm out, guys. Bye.